So, Thibaut, you say in the notes for the new album that Bach has been a great inspiration to you since you first became a musician, since a very young age. What was your first encounter with his music?
The first moment I heard some Bach music was when I was very young and I heard Andrés Segovia playing some Bach pieces on the guitar. So I discovered Bach thanks to the guitar, actually. So what is funny, because he never wrote for the instrument, but because it was my beloved instruments, it was the first contact with his music.
And what works were on those early recordings, do you recall?
Sorry,
which works do you remember from those Segovia recordings?
That was a gavotte, I think, from a violin partita. It was a small gavotte, but guitar players loved to play this piece.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and some of these works on this new album are your own transcriptions, I believe.
Well, I consider not like transcriptions. For example, if you take the chaconne, I just consider that it's an interpretation of it, because I take the original score from the violin partita and then I make my own version in terms of ornamentation, phrasing, but I don't change the text so much, because when you approach the music of Bach and you want to arrange it, you have to be pretty sure of what you do, because it's so well written that you have to be very careful.
So what are the pleasures and the challenges of transferring these works onto the guitar?
Well, actually, what is very interesting is to understand first the essence of the piece. For example, when he writes something for violin, he writes a bit different than for cello, than for harpsichord. So first to understand the language of it, and then to try to bring something from the guitar and to bring the guitar soul actually to that. And I consider for the Baroque music the guitar as a little harpsichord, and so for the ornamentation it will be a bit different than for violin or for cello.
Right, okay. And we've talked a little there about guitarists performing Bach. If I could ask you to name 2 or 3 violinists, keyboard players, even conductors, I don't mind, who've particularly inspired you, either live or on recording.
I mean, violinists, conductors, or any musician?
Any musician, right across the spectrum.
Well, there is you were speaking about conductor. There is a conductor I really love, it's Valery Garcia, just because he's so strong. I mean, the power he has in the hand is incredible, and I just love that. And when we play an instrument, we also have to behave like a conductor, because we have to have the score here and to conduct it with all the voices and all the dynamics, so we're a bit like a conductor, and I think Gergiev is very strong for that. And in another type, very different, it's more about elegance, I love Murray Peraya. I think for Bach music, for example, he's just so elegant, so classy that I love it, really love it.
They're fantastic. Yeah. The fantastic Bach, the English suites and French suites.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Have you played around with any other larger scale works? We mentioned a little the cello suites earlier. Do you think those work on the guitar? Do you think there is scope to transfer the Goldberg variations?
Yeah, that absolutely works. The thing with the music of Bach is that it's pretty universal in the writing, and it's one of the composers that is played on almost every instrument. So that's the reason of the writing, that it's so well written, and it's pure music. It's not really music for a very, very, very precise instrument. Even if it's different on every instrument, you can play it on every instrument. What is very interesting. So yeah, the Goldberg variations would work for 2 guitars, for example, because like a harpsichord, very, very complete works. Like you have the left hand, the right hand, and they can discuss together. And the cello suite work, but for the guitar we have to arrange it a bit, because it's a bit too thin in terms of harmony. So we have to add some basses sometimes, but we play the cello suites, we play the violin sonatas and partitas, we play the lute suite, of course, and we begin to play the harpsichord partita now.
Lovely. Let's talk, if we could, for a few minutes about the connections between Bach's music and the works which were inspired by it on this album, obviously inspiration being the key concept for the whole record. Could you tell me a little, perhaps first, about the Villalobos and the way that Bach's music informs that piece?
Yes, absolutely. Villalobos was inspired by Bach, and he dedicated to him the prelude number 3 from his 5 preludes. And there is a little part that really makes us think about Bach in that second part that does. So you see the arpeggio like that. It makes us think about, for example, in the chaconne by Bach himself, you have that. So this idea of the arpeggio, very similar.
Absolutely. And what about the later works, the Tanzmanns I was thinking of in particular? What's the connection between Bach and...
I think the connection here is more in terms of the construction of the piece. We have a suite of dances, like sarabande, air. We have like a Baroque suite written in the neoclassic style. Yeah, so he wanted to make a little tribute to Bach that he dedicated to Segovia, actually.
Okay, and the Bogdanovich, was that a work that was commissioned for you?
No, this is very funny. I wrote to the composer to commission a piece, and a few months before, he composed the piece as a tribute to Bach. Wow. So that was pretty. It was a good moment actually for him and for me. So no, it was dedicated to someone else, but it was the moment to use this modern piece on my repertoire. Yeah.
And does it draw on any particular Bach works, or is it more of a general stylistic homage?
No, it's more he composed in a Balkanic style. But for example, if we take the Barrios, then we have something more in direct relation with Johann Sebastian Bach in La Catedral by Barrios. We have the first movement that is composed, yes, with the arpeggio also. But what is very interesting is the last movement, the third movement, that I really imagine a harpsichord doing that on the keys, like. So you see this thing like that, very moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's a really strong connection, I think, there with the harpsichord writing, isn't there? One final question. Do you have any plans to do either an album or future programs based on other composers and other generations that they inspired? Or do you think it's a special case to Bach?
Well, I don't know. Bach is very special for that. I think I didn't dig the question enough to know if we have other composers who influenced the guitarist. But Bach is one of the most influenced composer for the guitar. So maybe later I will play some Bach, let's say an album like pure Bach. I don't know, because I just love his music. I'm in love with his music. But let's see.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks. That's great.